Derek Ashford's fist slammed the divorce papers onto the table, making the crystal shatter. "Sign it now, Vivien. Stop crying and sign." His mother, Catherine, threw her head back laughing, champagne sloshing from her raised glass. Finally, to freedom from the gold digger. The entire Ashford family erupted in applause, their cruel celebration drowning out Vivien's sobs as she pressed the pen to paper with trembling hands. They had no idea. Not one of them knew that 5 days ago this worthless woman they were destroying had wired $100 million into their bankrupt company, saving 70 years of their precious legacy. In 38 minutes, 3 people would walk through that door and call her boss, and the Ashford family's world would shatter worse than that crystal. Before we continue, please hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the very end of this story. Comment below with your city so I can see how far this journey travels. You won't believe what happens next. Vivien's hand shook so violently she could barely hold the pen Derek had just thrust at her, the expensive gold one his father Richard kept in his office for signing important contracts. Apparently, ending their marriage qualified as important enough. Are you going to sit there crying all day? Or are you actually going to do something useful for once? Gabriella, Derek's older sister, leaned back in her chair with that smirk Vivien had learned to hate over 2 years of Sunday dinners. Vivien looked up through blurred vision and met Derek's eyes across the Thanksgiving table. She searched desperately for some flicker of the man who had proposed to her on the floor of her tiny apartment, the man who had said her love was everything he needed. That man was gone. "Derek, please," her voice came out broken. "Can we at least talk about this privately?" "No." The word was flat, final. Derek picked up his wineglass and took a long drink. "We're done talking. We've been done for months. You know it, I know it, everyone at this table knows it." Trevor, Derek's younger brother, snorted into his bourbon. "Months? Try years. We all knew this was a mistake from the wedding day." Catherine set down her champagne flute. "Derek, darling, you're being too kind. This was a mistake from the engagement." She turned to Vivien with a smile that held no warmth. "No offense, dear, but you were never quite right for our family, were you? All those little art projects, that quaint teaching job, living in that sad little apartment. You tried to accept me?" The words escaped Vivien before she could stop them. "Because you weren't good enough," Gabriella said simply, inspecting her manicured nails. "You aren't. You walked into a family worth $50 million with nothing but paint under your fingernails and delusions." Richard Ashford cleared his throat from the head of the table. "Now, Gabriella, there's no need to be cruel." He looked at Vivien with something that might have been pity. "Vivien, you must understand. Derek needs a partner who can contribute to our family legacy, someone who understands business, who can navigate our social circles. You're a lovely girl, but you're simply not equipped for this life." "I never wanted this life," Vivien whispered. "Exactly," Derek said, triumph in his tone. "You never fit. You never even tried to fit. Every Sunday dinner you'd sit there looking miserable." "Because you all treated me like I was invisible." The words burst out louder than intended. "Every single week you criticized everything about me, my clothes, my job, my background, my opinions. Derek, you never once defended me, not once in 2 years. Derek's jaw tightened, maybe because there was nothing to defend. The silence was brutal. Even Trevor looked momentarily uncomfortable. Then Catherine laughed, that light tinkling sound that made Vivien's stomach turn. "Oh, sweetheart, you can't actually be surprised by this. Surely you knew this was coming. Derek's been working late for months, spending weekends at the club, taking separate vacations." Vivien had known. She'd felt Derek slipping away from her week by week, conversation by conversation, until they were 2 strangers sharing an apartment and nothing else. "Just sign the papers, Vivien," Derek said, his voice softer now but somehow more devastating. "Let's not drag this out." Eleanor Ashford, Derek's 83-year-old grandmother, spoke for the first time. "The prenuptial agreement protects everyone involved. You'll leave with exactly what you brought to this marriage, and we'll keep what's ours. It's all very civilized." Civilized. There was nothing civilized about being ambushed on Thanksgiving, about having divorce papers served with the stuffing. Where do I sign? Vivien asked quietly. Derek looked relieved. He leaned forward and flipped through the papers. Here, and here, an initial here. Vivien picked up the gold pen. Her hand hovered over the signature line. You know what's funny? Trevor said, reaching for another roll. That mysterious investor who saved our company last week? Dad was just telling us they only asked for $1,000 a month return on a $100 million investment. Can you imagine being that stupid? Richard chuckled. The board has been joking about it all week. We can't figure out if they're desperate or just financially illiterate. Probably some trust fund baby who doesn't understand real money, Gabriella added. Catherine shook her head. $100 million for $1,000 a month. It's almost offensive how little they valued their own money. No business sense whatsoever. They all laughed. Derek laughed. Even Eleanor's thin lips curved into something resembling amusement. Vivien sat there, pen in hand, listening to them mock the person who had saved their 70-year-old pharmaceutical company from bankruptcy. The person who had saved 400 jobs. The person who had given them back their legacy. They were mocking her. You know, Vivien said slowly, her tears drying as something else took their place, something colder. You're right about one thing, Catherine. What's that, dear? I never fit into this family. I never belonged here. Well, better late than never, Trevor said cheerfully. Vivien pressed the pen to paper. Her hand was steady now, perfectly steady, as she signed her name in careful strokes. Not Vivien Ashford. She signed Vivien Harper, the middle name that had let her hide in plain sight. There, she said. It's done. Derek exhaled. He'd been holding his breath. Thank you. This is better for both of us. You'll see. I'm sure I will, Vivien agreed. Gabriella stood, raising her wine glass. I propose a toast. To Derek's freedom and to new beginnings. To new beginnings, the family chorused. Vivien folded the divorce papers carefully, creasing each edge with precision. Then she reached beneath the table where her phone sat in her lap. She'd placed it there before dinner started, knowing somehow that she would need it. Her fingers found the message she'd typed out hours ago. She pressed send. 3 words. Come here now. More wine, Vivien? Catherine asked. No, thank you, Vivien said calmly. I'll wait. Derek's brow furrowed. Wait for what? For what comes next. Odd tension settled over the table. Richard exchanged glances with Catherine. Eleanor set down her teacup and studied Vivien with sharp eyes. You can go now, Gabriella said, irritation in her voice. The papers are signed. I'd like to finish Thanksgiving dinner, Vivien replied, if that's all right. I suppose, Catherine said with a tight smile. They tried to resume eating, but the atmosphere had shifted. Vivien's calmness, the way she hadn't run away crying as they'd clearly expected, threw them off balance. Derek kept glancing at her. Vivien, you're being weird. What are you waiting for? You'll see, she said softly. Vivien checked her watch. They would need time to drive from the city, maybe 35 minutes, maybe 40, depending on traffic. So, Derek, Richard said, with the company stabilized, I'd like you to take over the West Coast expansion project. I'd be honored, Dad. Derek's chest puffed slightly. We should celebrate this week's victory properly, Catherine added. Whoever that anonymous investor was, they saved us from absolute ruin. We were 3 days from bankruptcy when that wire transfer came through. It was miraculous timing, Eleanor said quietly. Miraculous stupidity, Trevor corrected. Who gives away $100 million for basically nothing? More laughter, more wine, more casual cruelty. Derek turned to Vivien again. Seriously, what are you doing? This is awkward. Is it? Vivien asked. I thought you wanted me here for Thanksgiving dinner. That was before. Before you ambushed me with divorce papers in front of your family, you mean? Derek had the grace to look slightly uncomfortable. I thought it would be easier this way. Clean. Clean, Vivien repeated. You thought publicly humiliating me would be clean. Oh, please, Gabriella interjected. Humiliation implies you had dignity to lose. Catherine stood to bring out dessert. Vivien, would you like a piece? Though I suppose you'll want to watch your figure now that you're back on the market. I'm 28, Vivien said. Exactly, dear. Not getting any younger. Richard's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned. Quarterly reports look good. The investor's money has already stabilized our credit rating. All thanks to some fool, Trevor said. To fools who make our lives easier, Derek toasted. They drank. Vivien checked her watch again. Eleanor noticed. The old woman's eyes narrowed slightly, watching Vivien with new attention. Are you expecting someone, dear? Eleanor asked quietly. Yes, Vivien said. Who would you be expecting? Catherine's voice had an edge. You'll see soon enough. Derek set down his fork. Vivien, stop being cryptic. It's annoying. Is it? Vivien met his eyes. I thought honesty was what you wanted. Truth. No more pretending. What are you talking about? You'll understand in a few minutes. Richard leaned forward. Young lady, if you have something to say it. I'd rather show you, Vivien replied. The family exchanged confused glances. Trevor muttered something about drama. Gabriella rolled her eyes, but Eleanor kept watching Vivien with those sharp, calculating eyes. You've changed, Eleanor said suddenly. In the last 10 minutes, you've changed completely. Have I? Vivien asked. You stopped crying. You stopped shaking. You're sitting differently, speaking differently. Eleanor tilted her head. What happened? I stopped pretending, Vivien said simply. Pretending what? Derek demanded. That any of this hurt me. It doesn't hurt you? Catherine's voice rose. Your marriage just ended. No, Vivien corrected. You just ended a lie I've been living for 2 years. That's different. What lie? Richard's voice was sharp now. Vivien checked her watch one more time. You'll see. 3 minutes. 3 minutes until what? Gabriella snapped. Until everything changes. The family stared at her. The woman sitting at their table wasn't the meek, quiet Vivien they'd bullied for 2 years. This woman had steel in her spine and ice in her voice. I don't like this, Catherine said. Derek, make her leave. Vivien, just go, Derek said. Please, this is getting uncomfortable. Uncomfortable? Vivien's laugh was sharp. You served me divorce papers at Thanksgiving dinner. You let your family mock me and tear me apart. You didn't defend me once. And now you're uncomfortable? We didn't mean, Richard started. Yes, you did, Vivien cut him off. You meant every word, every insult, every joke, every dismissive comment for 2 solid years. You meant all of it. Because you deserved it, Gabriella said. Coming into our family with nothing, acting like you belonged. I had more than you could imagine, Vivien said quietly. I just didn't show it. What's that supposed to mean? Trevor asked. The doorbell rang. Everyone froze. Are we expecting someone? Catherine asked. Richard? No one. The doorbell rang again. Longer this time. More insistent. I'll get it, Catherine said, standing, though whoever it is has terrible timing. She walked toward the foyer. The family waited in tense silence. They heard the front door opening, Catherine's polite voice saying something about this being a bad time. Then another voice, a woman's voice, crisp and authoritative. We're here to see Vivien Hartwell. Catherine's sharp intake of breath echoed back to the dining room. I'm sorry, who? Catherine's voice had changed, uncertain now. Vivien Hartwell, a man's voice, deep and professional. We're expected. Footsteps. 3 sets of footsteps walking past Catherine without waiting for permission. Richard stood abruptly. What is the meaning of this? Who are you? 3 people appeared in the dining room doorway. A man in his 50s, silver-haired, impeccably dressed in a navy suit. A woman in her 40s with sharp red hair pulled back, holding a tablet. A tall man in his 30s, broad-shouldered, imposing. They walked straight past Richard, past Derek, past the entire gaping family. They walked directly to Vivien. And then they bowed. Deep, respectful bows. Boss, the silver-haired man said, we came immediately. Is everything all right? Ms. Hartwell, the red-haired woman asked, do you need assistance? We dropped everything, the tall man added. What do you need? The sound of breaking porcelain shattered the silence. Eleanor's teacup slipped from her fingers, smashing against the floor. Richard's face drained of color. His hand gripped the chair back, knuckles white. His mouth opened, closed, no sound coming out. Catherine stood frozen in the doorway, one hand pressed to her throat, eyes wide. Derek stared at Vivien like she was a stranger, like the woman he'd just divorced had never existed. "Boss?" Gabriella whispered. They called her boss. Trevor's wineglass slipped from his fingers. Red wine spread across the white tablecloth. The silver-haired man pulled out his tablet. "We have the withdrawal documents prepared as you requested. Everything is ready for your authorization." "Withdrawal?" Richard's voice came out strangled. "What withdrawal?" The red-haired woman turned to face Richard. Her expression was ice. "The $100 million investment in Sterling Pharmaceuticals. Ms. Hartwell is exercising her right to withdraw the funds as outlined in the contract your company signed 5 days ago." "Ms. Hartwell?" Catherine repeated the name. The tall man crossed his arms. "Vivien Harper Hartwell, CEO of Hartwell Global Industries, net worth approximately $3.7 billion. She's been operating under her middle name for the past 3 years." The words fell like bombs. "That's impossible," Richard whispered. "We investigated her. She's just an art teacher." "She owned the gallery," the silver-haired man corrected. "She owned the building. She owns substantial real estate in this city, Mr. Ashford. She simply chose to live modestly." Gabriella's face had gone gray. "V. Hartwell Investments, the anonymous investor." "Oh, God," Trevor breathed. Catherine grabbed the doorframe. "The investor who saved our company was sitting at your table," the red-haired woman finished. "The woman you just humiliated and divorced is the person who wired $100 million into your dying company 5 days ago." Eleanor closed her eyes. Derek made a sound like he'd been struck. "No. Vivien, you can't be. You're not." "What?" Vivien stood slowly. When she spoke, her voice carried weight, authority, power. "I'm just what, Derek? Just a nobody? Just an art teacher? Just someone who wasn't good enough for your family?" "We didn't know," Catherine said desperately. If you'd known I had money, you would have treated me better?" Vivien's laugh was sharp. "That's exactly the problem, Catherine. You didn't know I was wealthy, so you treated me like I was worthless. Money shouldn't determine how you treat people." The silver-haired man spoke. "Ms. Hartwell, the documents." "Yes," Vivien's eyes moved across each face at the table. "I asked for $1,000 a month, not because I needed the money, but because I wanted to see how you would treat someone you believed was desperate, someone you thought was beneath you." "Every board meeting," the red-haired woman said, reading from her tablet, "you mocked the investor. We have recordings. Pathetic, desperate, stupid, financially illiterate. Those were your exact words, Mr. Ashford." Richard swayed. "The investor you laughed about," Vivien continued, "was the same person you've been laughing at for 2 years. I saved your company while you treated me like garbage. I rescued 70 years of your family legacy while you told me I was worthless." Derek reached for her. "Vivien, I didn't know. If I'd known..." "Would have what?" She stepped back. "Treated me with respect?" "That's the point, Derek. You didn't know I had billions, so you decided I had no value at all." "The prenuptial agreement," the tall man said, "that your family insisted she sign. The one designed to protect your assets from her. It actually protected her billions from you." Derek's face crumpled. "This can't be happening." "James, withdraw the investment," Vivien said. "All of it. Every single dollar. Immediately." "No," Richard surged forward. "You can't. We have a contract." James's expression didn't change. "A contract that allows complete withdrawal within 90 days under specific conditions. It's been 5 days, and the conditions have certainly been met." "What conditions?" Derek's voice cracked. "Good faith," Vivien said simply. "Respect for the investor. Your company violated both spectacularly." "We didn't know it was you," Catherine's voice rose. "You didn't need to know it was me." Vivien's voice remained calm. "You just needed to be decent human beings. You failed." Gabriella stood, her chair falling backward. You can't do this to us. We're family. Vivien held up the divorce papers. I signed these, remember? I'm not family anymore. Your words, not mine. The reality crashed down, visible in every face. Richard's hands trembling, Catherine's tears starting, Eleanor's complete stillness, Trevor's panic, Gabriella's horror, and Derek. Derek staring at her, finally understanding what he'd destroyed. By Monday morning, Vivien said to James, I want every dollar withdrawn from Sterling Pharmaceuticals. Terminate all cooperation. End all contracts. Vivien, please, Derek's voice broke. Please don't do this. We can fix this. Fix it? Vivien looked at him. You handed me divorce papers at Thanksgiving dinner, Derek. You wanted to humiliate me in front of your family. Congratulations. You got exactly what you wanted. She turned toward the door. James, Diana, and Jonathan fell into formation around her. At the threshold, Vivien paused. She looked back one final time at the Ashford family, sitting among the ruins of their Thanksgiving celebration. I hope the $1,000 a month was worth it, she said quietly. It cost you everything. Eleanor suddenly spoke, her voice trembling. Wait! Vivien stopped but didn't turn around. You knew, Eleanor said. From the beginning. You knew we would treat you this way. That's why you tested us. Yes, Vivien said, and we failed. Spectacularly. Why did you save us at all? Eleanor's voice broke. Why give us the money if you knew what we were? Vivien finally turned. Because 400 innocent people worked for your company. Because they had families to feed. Because they didn't deserve to lose everything. Because your son's family was cruel and your management was incompetent. She paused. I didn't save you, Eleanor. I saved them. The severance fund, Richard whispered. The anonymous severance fund that protected all our employees. That was you too. Of course it was, Vivien said. Did you really think I'd let innocent people suffer for your mistakes? How much? Catherine asked weakly. A year's salary for each employee, full benefits, job placement assistance, about $47 million total. $47 million, Derek repeated, his voice hollow, to protect people you'd never even met. Because it was the right thing to do, Vivien said simply. Something you never understood, Derek. Doing the right thing doesn't require a personal connection. It just requires being a decent human being. Trevor laughed, a broken sound. We mocked you for being poor. You were protecting our employees with $47 million. The irony isn't lost on me, Vivien said. Why didn't you tell me, Derek asked. Why hide who you were? Because I wanted to know if you could love me without the money, Vivien said. I wanted to know if your family could accept me as a person, not as a bank account. I got my answer. If we'd known, Catherine started. If you'd known, you would have been nice to my face and cruel behind my back, Vivien interrupted. You would have used me for my money while resenting me for having it. This way, at least I saw who you really were. We're not bad people, Gabriella protested weakly. Aren't you? Vivien's voice was soft but cutting. You spent 2 years making me feel worthless. You laughed at me. You mocked my job, my clothes, my life. You did it because you thought you could, because you thought I was beneath you. That's not good people behaving badly, Gabriella. That's bad people showing their true nature. Richard sank back into his chair. What happens now? Now? Vivien smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Now, you lose everything. Your company will be bankrupt by Wednesday. Your mansion will be sold. Your legacy will be gone. And you'll have to live with the knowledge that you destroyed it all yourselves. Please, Derek stepped toward her. I love you. I know you don't believe that, but I do. You loved who you thought I was, Vivien corrected. You loved the version of me that made you feel superior. The moment you discover I had everything, you can't even look at me the same way. That's not love, Derek. That's ego. I can change, he said desperately. Maybe you can, Vivien acknowledged. Maybe losing everything will teach you to be a better person. Maybe you'll learn that people's value isn't measured by their bank accounts. Maybe you'll stand up to your family next time they're cruel to someone you claim to love. She paused. But that person won't be me. I'm done being your lesson, Derek. She turned to James. Make sure the employee's severance is processed by Monday. I want every single person taken care of before the bankruptcy filing." "Already done, Ms. Hartwell," James said. "Good." Vivien looked at the Ashford family one last time. "Goodbye." "Wait," Eleanor called out again. "Will you ever forgive us?" Vivien considered the question. "Forgiveness implies I'm still carrying anger. I'm not. I'm just done. You can't hurt me anymore because I don't care what you think. That's not forgiveness, Eleanor. That's indifference." "That's worse," the old woman whispered. "Yes," Vivien agreed. "It is." She walked out into the November night. James, Diana, and Jonathan followed, their presence a protective shield. Behind her, the Ashford family sat in ruins. Catherine started crying, deep sobs that shook her whole body. Richard stared at nothing, his face gray. Trevor poured himself another drink with shaking hands. Gabriella covered her face. Derek stood alone, watching through the window as Vivien got into a black sedan. The car pulled away, taillights disappearing into the darkness. "She's gone," he said to no one in particular. "We're all gone," Richard said heavily. "By Monday, everything will be gone." Eleanor picked up a shard of her broken teacup. 70 years, she said quietly. 70 years of building this company. My husband started it with nothing. My son grew it. My grandson was supposed to inherit it. She looked at Derek. "And we destroyed it in one Thanksgiving dinner." "We didn't know," Catherine sobbed. "That's what makes it worse," Eleanor said. "We destroyed ourselves by being exactly who we are. No deception, no tricks, just our own cruelty coming back to destroy us." Derek sank into his chair, still staring at the window. "I never even asked her. In 2 years, I never once asked if there was more to her story. I just assumed I knew everything." "We all did," Gabriella said quietly. "She tested us," Trevor said. "The $1,000 monthly payment. She was testing whether we'd honor a commitment to someone we thought was desperate. And we failed. We laughed. We mocked. We failed in the most spectacular way possible." Richard's phone buzzed. He looked at it, his face going even grayer. "The business networks are already reporting it. Major investor withdraws from Sterling Pharmaceuticals. Stock price is plummeting." "How bad?" Catherine asked. "We'll be worthless by morning," Richard said. "She's destroying us in real time." "No," Eleanor corrected. "We destroyed ourselves. She's just letting us face the consequences." The family sat in silence. The ruins of Thanksgiving dinner spread before them. Turkey growing cold, wine staining the tablecloth, broken china on the floor, divorce papers signed and witnessed. Derek picked up the papers, reading his ex-wife's signature. Vivien Harper, not Ashford. She'd never truly been in Ashford, and now he understood why. She'd been something so much more, and they'd been too blind and cruel to see it. "I loved her," he said quietly. "Did you?" Eleanor asked. "Or did you love feeling superior to her?" Derek didn't answer. He couldn't. Outside, Vivien sat in the back of the sedan, watching the mansion shrink in the distance. James sat beside her, Diana and Jonathan in the front. "Are you all right, Miss Hartwell?" Diana asked. "I don't know yet," Vivien said honestly. "Ask me tomorrow." "The withdrawal will process Monday morning," James confirmed. "Legal has everything ready." "And the employees?" Vivien asked. "Severance fund is active," Jonathan said. "All 400 will receive notification Monday. Anonymous donor, as you requested." "Good," Vivien leaned back against the leather seat. They didn't deserve to suffer for the Ashford family's failures. "What about you?" Diana asked gently. "Did you deserve to suffer?" Vivien was quiet for a long moment. "I chose to marry him. I chose to hide who I was. I chose to test them instead of just walking away. Maybe I got exactly what I deserved, too." "No," James said firmly. "You deserved honesty. You deserved respect. You deserved a family that valued you for who you are, not what you have." "Well," Vivien said softly, "I learned an important lesson. Some people will never see your value if they think you have nothing, and some people will never see your value even when they discover you have everything. Either way, those people aren't worth your time." The car drove through the city, lights blurring past the windows. Somewhere behind them, the Ashford family was realizing the magnitude of what they'd lost. Somewhere ahead, Vivien's real life waited, the one she'd put on hold for 2 years. "Where to, Miss Hartwell?" the driver asked. Vivien thought about her penthouse, 47 floors up, where she could be herself without pretending. About her real office, where her real team waited. About the life she'd sacrificed trying to find real love. "Home," she said. "Take me home." And as the sedan carried her away from the worst Thanksgiving of her life, Vivien Harper Hartwell made herself a promise. She would never again make herself smaller to fit into someone else's life. She would never again hide who she was to test whether someone could love her. From now on, anyone who wanted to be in her life would know exactly who she was from the beginning. And if they couldn't handle it, they could walk away before she wasted 2 years finding out they were never worth her time. The Ashford family had taught her a valuable lesson, just not the one they'd intended. They'd taught her that cruelty always costs more than the cruel realize. That arrogance comes before a fall. That judging people by their bank account says everything about the judge and nothing about the judged. And most importantly, they'd taught her that walking away from people who don't value you isn't giving up. It's finally valuing yourself. The sedan's leather seat felt like the first honest thing Vivien had touched in 2 years. She watched the city lights blur past, each one representing a moment she'd pretended to be someone smaller, quieter, less than she was. "Ms. Hartwell," James said from beside her, his voice gentle in the darkness, "we need to discuss next steps. The withdrawal will cause immediate financial collapse. Sterling Pharmaceuticals will file bankruptcy by Wednesday morning. The media will want answers." "Let them want," Vivien said quietly. Diana turned from the front seat. "The business networks are already speculating. They'll connect Vivien Harper to Vivien Hartwell within 48 hours. Your identity will be public." "Good," Vivien's voice was steady. "I'm done hiding." Jonathan glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "There will be questions about why you married into the Ashford family. Some reporters will suggest you planned this from the beginning." "Did I?" Vivien asked, and the question hung in the air like smoke. James shifted in his seat. "Boss, you know you didn't. You loved him. We all saw it. Did I love him? Or did I love the idea that someone could love me without knowing about the money?" Vivien closed her eyes. "I don't know anymore, James. I honestly don't know." The car pulled up to her building, the real one, 47 floors of glass and steel that screamed wealth and power. The doorman opened her door immediately, recognition in his eyes, even though she hadn't been here in months. "Ms. Hartwell," he said with a slight bow, "welcome home." "Thank you, Marcus." Vivien stepped out and the November air hit her face like a baptism. "It's good to be back." She rode the elevator alone, watching the numbers climb. 30 floors, 35, 40. Each floor was a layer of pretense falling away. By the time she reached 47, she was breathing differently, standing taller, feeling her real skin settle back onto her bones. The penthouse was exactly as she'd left it that morning. Clean lines, floor-to-ceiling windows, art that actually mattered on the walls. Not the modest apartment Derek knew about, the one she'd carefully staged to look like all she could afford. This was real. This was hers. This was home. Vivien walked to the window and looked out at the city she'd helped build. Somewhere out there, Derek was sitting in the ruins of Thanksgiving dinner, finally understanding what he'd lost. His family was calculating how many days they had before bankruptcy. Catherine was probably already calling lawyers who couldn't help them. Her phone buzzed. 37 missed calls. All Derek. Then the texts started flooding in. "Please call me. We need to talk. Vivien, I didn't know. You have to understand. My family didn't mean those things. Please don't do this. We can fix this. I love you. I always loved you." Vivien read each one, feeling nothing. The words that might have moved her yesterday, that might have made her reconsider even an hour ago, now felt hollow, empty, like reading lines from a script performed by someone who'd never understood the character. She turned her phone off. Some conversations didn't deserve to happen. 3 years earlier, the gallery had smelled like turpentine and possibility. Vivien's hands were covered in cerulean blue, her favorite color bleeding into the canvas before her. She was teaching a teenager named Maya how to capture water in watercolor, how to make it feel alive instead of static. Like this? Maya asked, her brush moving in careful strokes. Perfect, Vivien said. See how the light catches there? That's what makes it real. The bell above the door chimed. Vivien didn't look up immediately. She was used to browsers, people who wandered in to escape the rain or kill time between appointments. But something made her turn. A man stood studying Maya's painting with an intensity that surprised her. Not the polite interest most visitors showed, but genuine curiosity. His suit was expensive without being ostentatious. His tie was loosened, like he'd just escaped from somewhere more formal. "Is that for sale?" he asked. "It's not mine to sell," Vivien said, wiping her hands on her apron. "One of my students painted it." He stepped closer, tilting his head to catch the light on the brush strokes. "She's talented. The way she captured the water, it feels alive." Something in Vivien's chest shifted. She'd spent years dodging men who complimented her jewelry before her art, who asked about her car before her name, who saw dollar signs where her heart should be. This man hadn't even looked at her yet, too absorbed in the teenager's watercolor. "I'm Derek," he extended his hand. "Vivien Harper," she replied, and the middle name slipped out so naturally she almost believed it herself. The lie was easy. Easier than explaining that Vivien Hartwell was the woman on Forbes covers, the billionaire heiress who couldn't walk into a room without someone calculating her net worth before her character. They talked until the sun dropped below the buildings outside. He told her about working at his family's pharmaceutical company, about the pressure of legacy and expectations. She told him about teaching art to kids who couldn't afford fancy studios, about believing creativity mattered more than profit margins. She didn't tell him about the properties she owned across 3 continents. She didn't tell him about the board meetings where men twice her age waited for her approval. She didn't tell him that the modest gallery where they stood was hers, bought with money she'd made before she turned 25. That first afternoon became coffee the next week, which became dinner the week after, which became late-night phone calls where Derek's voice sounded like home. "Tell me something real," Derek said one night, his voice soft through the phone. "Something you've never told anyone else." Vivien lay in her real bed in her real penthouse, looking at the ceiling. "I'm afraid," she said slowly, "that nobody will ever love me for who I actually am. That they'll always love what I can give them instead." "That's the saddest thing I've ever heard," Derek said. "Who hurt you like that?" "Everyone," Vivien whispered. "Eventually, everyone does." "Not me," Derek said. "I don't care what you have or don't have, Vivien. I care about how you see the world, how you make kids believe in beauty, how you laugh when you think nobody's listening. That's what matters." Vivien closed her eyes, wanting desperately to believe him. "Promise me something. Anything. If you ever stop loving me, tell me why. Don't just disappear. Don't just fade away. Tell me what changed." "I won't stop loving you," Derek said, "but I promise if anything ever changes, you'll know why." 6 months disappeared in a blur of farmers market Sundays and movie theater dates. Derek never asked about her bank account, never questioned why she lived simply, never showed the calculated interest she'd learned to fear. The day he proposed, they were sitting on her apartment floor eating takeout from containers. No fancy restaurant, no audience, just him, nervous and genuine, pulling a simple ring from his pocket. "I don't have much," he said, his hand trembling slightly, "but I have love. If that's enough." "It's everything," she whispered, and meant it. The ring felt light on her finger, lighter than the weight of the truth she was still hiding. 3 months before the wedding, Catherine Ashford invited Vivien to lunch at a restaurant where the water cost more than most people's dinner. The older woman's pearls caught the light as she leaned forward, her smile perfectly practiced. "You understand. We need to protect Derek," Catherine said, sliding papers across the white tablecloth. "The prenuptial agreement is standard. What you bring to the marriage stays yours. What we contribute stays ours." Vivien read each line carefully, fighting the laugh building in her throat. They were protecting their pharmaceutical company worth maybe $50 million on a good day from her. They thought she was the fortune hunter. They thought their son was the prize. "Where do I sign?" Vivien asked, her voice soft and compliant. Richard Ashford nodded approvingly from across the table, probably thinking his legal expertise had just saved the family from a gold digger. None of them noticed the irony sitting right in front of them, that the document they thought protected their wealth was actually shielding her billions from their eventual greed. Derek apologized that night, pulling her close in the darkness of her apartment. "I'm sorry about my parents. They're just cautious." "I understand," she said into his shoulder, wondering when caution had become cruelty, when protection had turned into condescension. The wedding was small. Intimate, they called it, though Vivien knew the truth. Derek's family didn't want to waste money celebrating his marriage to someone they considered beneath them. Catherine wore white to the ceremony, a subtle message Vivien pretended not to understand. Richard gave a toast about love conquering all obstacles, his eyes lingering on Vivien when he said, "obstacles." Gabriella drank too much champagne and whispered loudly to Trevor about mistakes you can't undo. Vivien smiled through it all, her hand in Derek's, her secret wrapped around her like armor. They found a small apartment in the city, nothing fancy but theirs. 2 bedrooms, morning light through east-facing windows. Derek thought Vivien was stretching her teaching salary to afford it. He didn't know she owned the entire building. Sunday dinners at the Ashford mansion became mandatory. Catherine's rule enforced with guilt and passive aggression. "Family is important," Catherine would say, her hand on Derek's shoulder, her eyes dismissing Vivien entirely. The first Sunday dinner, Vivien wore a dress she'd carefully selected to look affordable but tasteful. Catherine looked her up and down with barely concealed disdain. "How nice," Catherine said. "Department store?" "Yes," Vivien lied. The dress was custom-made by a designer who only worked with private clients. It cost more than Catherine's monthly clothing budget. "Well, it's very sweet," Catherine continued. "For someone on a teacher's salary, I suppose you have to be practical about these things." Richard sat at the head of the table, already dismissing Vivien with his posture. "So, Vivien, Derek tells me you teach art. To children?" "Yes," Vivien said. "Kids who can't afford regular art classes. We work on fundamentals, help them see beauty in everyday things." "How charitable," Richard said, and the word dripped with condescension. "Though I suppose someone has to teach the poor children. Better you than someone with actual career prospects." Derek laughed, actually laughed. "Dad, come on." But he didn't defend her, didn't tell his father that was cruel, just laughed it off like it was a joke instead of an insult. Gabriella leaned forward. "Do you make any money from this teaching, or is it all volunteer work?" "I make enough," Vivien said carefully. "Enough for what?" Trevor asked. "Rent, though I suppose Derek helps with that now." "I pay my own rent," Vivien said quietly. "Of course you do, dear," Catherine interjected, her tone suggesting she believed otherwise. "Derek, darling, could you pass the wine?" The conversation moved on, flowing around Vivien like she was a rock in a stream, invisible, inconsequential, there unless someone wanted to make a comment about her clothes or her job or her presumed financial dependence on their son. Derek said nothing. Not once in that entire dinner did he defend her. He laughed at his father's jokes. He agreed when his mother suggested Vivien might benefit from Catherine's fashion advice. He nodded when Gabriella said artists were lovely people, but not exactly practical. That night, in their apartment, Derek pulled her close. "They'll warm up to you. They just need time." "They were cruel," Vivien said softly. "They were just joking around. That's how they are with everyone. You're being too sensitive. Too sensitive." Those words would become his refrain over the next 2 years. Every Sunday dinner, every family gathering, every casual cruelty from his family would be met with the same response. "You're being too sensitive." The second Sunday dinner was worse. Catherine asked Vivien about her family background. "My parents died when I was 21, Vivien said. "Oh, how tragic," Catherine said, her voice dripping false sympathy. "And they left you nothing, I assume, given that you were working as a teacher." "They left me enough," Vivien said carefully. "Enough for what?" A year's rent? Gabriella asked. Something like that, Vivien lied. Her parents had left her a $50 million trust fund. She'd turned it into billions by the time she was 27, but the Ashfords would never know that. The third Sunday dinner, Richard cornered her in the hallway. "I want to be clear about something," he said, his voice low. "My son will inherit this company someday. He'll be responsible for 70 years of family legacy. He needs a partner who understands business, who can navigate social circles, who can contribute to his success." "I understand," Vivien said. "Do you?" Richard's eyes were cold. "Because from where I'm standing, you're a distraction, a pretty face with no substance. Derek could have married someone from our world, someone who could actually help him. Instead, he chose you." "He chose me because he loves me," Vivien said quietly. "Love," Richard laughed. "Love fades, dear. Legacy endures. Remember that." Vivien went home that night and cried in the shower, where Derek couldn't hear her. Then she dried her eyes, opened her laptop, and ran her empire from the second bedroom while her husband slept peacefully in the next room, never knowing that the woman he'd married could buy his family's company 100 times over. The Sunday dinners continued, week after week, month after month, each one a carefully choreographed performance of small cruelties. Catherine commenting on Vivien's clothes, Richard making jokes about artists and real work, Gabriella and Trevor exchanging glances whenever Vivien spoke, Eleanor watching everything with those sharp eyes, saying little but missing nothing. And Derek sitting at that table letting it all happen, week after week, month after month, never once standing up for her, never once telling his family they were wrong, never once choosing her over their approval. By the end of the first year, Vivien had stopped trying to win them over. She sat quietly at dinners, spoke when spoken to, endured the comments with practiced grace. At night, she worked from her secret office, running board meetings via encrypted video calls, while Derek snored softly in the next room. James Crawford, her attorney, called one night at midnight. "You can't keep this up forever. The double life is exhausting you." "I can keep it up as long as I need to," Vivien replied. "Why?" James asked. "Why are you doing this to yourself?" "Because I want to know if someone can love me without the money," Vivien said. "I want to know if it's possible. And if it's not, then at least I'll know the truth." By the middle of the second year, Derek was coming home later, his enthusiasm for their life together fading like old photographs. Not another woman, just a man slowly realizing he'd married someone his family would never accept, and choosing them over her in 1,000 small ways. The Sunday dinners became unbearable. Gabriella's comments growing sharper, Catherine's disappointed sighs more frequent, Richard's barely concealed contempt whenever Vivien spoke. "You wouldn't understand pharmaceutical markets," Richard said one Sunday, his tone dismissive. "It's complex, technical." Vivien bit her tongue, swallowing the response that she owned controlling shares in 3 pharmaceutical companies larger than his. She smiled instead, played the role they'd written for her. Diana Foster, her CFO, sent quarterly reports on pharmaceutical companies. Market analysis, financial health assessments, acquisition opportunities. Hartwell Global Industries had interests in biotech. Tracking the sector was standard business practice. Sterling Pharmaceuticals kept appearing in the reports. Each quarter, the numbers got worse. "They're declining rapidly," Diana reported during a secure video call at 3 a.m. "Richard Ashford's management decisions are destroying the company. They've lost 3 major contracts in the last 6 months." Vivien looked at the spreadsheets, columns of red numbers telling a story of incompetence and arrogance. The same Richard Ashford who dismissed her at dinner was running a 70-year-old company into the ground. "Keep monitoring," Vivien said quietly. 2 years of marriage, 2 years of being treated like she was worthless, 2 years of watching Derek transform from the man who loved a teenager's watercolor into someone who valued his family's approval more than her dignity. Then came the call that changed everything. 1 week before Thanksgiving, Diana's voice came through Vivien's phone, urgent and clipped. Sterling Pharmaceuticals just got hit with loan recalls. Their largest creditor is demanding immediate payment. They're going public looking for investors. Vivien pulled up the financial news. There it was. Sterling Pharmaceuticals faces bankruptcy, seeks emergency funding. Timeline? Vivien asked. They have until Monday, 6 days from now. After that, it's liquidation. Vivien thought about the 400 employees who would lose everything. Thought about Derek's family and their cruelty. Thought about 2 years of being treated like she was nothing while sitting on billions they couldn't imagine. Prepare an offer, she said. $100 million, anonymous, through V. Hartwell Investments. Terms are $1,000 monthly return. Diana paused. That's nothing. They'll be suspicious. They'll be too desperate to question it. And I want to see something. What? How they treat someone they think is beneath them. The offer went out within hours. James made the call, his voice professional and detached as he spoke to Richard Ashford. $100 million, James said. Immediate wire transfer. Our only requirement is $1,000 monthly. Richard's laughter came through tiny on the speaker. 1,000? Is this a joke? Those are our terms. Accept or decline. The pause lasted 3 seconds. We accept. The money transferred that afternoon. By evening, Derek came home different. Lighter. Almost happy for the first time in months. We were saved, he said, actually smiling at her. Some anonymous investor gave us $100 million for basically nothing. Dad can't believe it. Mom's already planning a celebration. That's wonderful, Vivien said, and meant it in ways he couldn't understand. They want to do Thanksgiving at the house. Big celebration. The whole family. Dad's calling it our gratitude dinner. Derek pulled her close. His first affectionate gesture in weeks. Things are going to be different now. Better. I can feel it. Vivien leaned into him, feeling the irony press against her chest like a stone. I'm sure they will be, she said. The week before Thanksgiving felt like watching a stage being set for a performance Vivien had written, but Derek's family thought they were directing. Every phone call from Catherine carried barely suppressed glee. Every text from Gabriella radiated relief. The Ashford family had been saved, and they were ready to celebrate. Mom wants to know what you're bringing, Derek said Tuesday evening, scrolling through his phone. She's planning the whole menu, but thought you might want to contribute something. What does she suggest? Vivien asked, already knowing the answer. Maybe a salad? Something simple. She doesn't want you to stress about it. Something simple, because Catherine assumed anything complex would be beyond Vivien's capabilities, because a teacher couldn't possibly manage a complicated dish. I'll bring a salad, Vivien said. Derek smiled, relieved. Perfect. Hey, I know my family can be a lot sometimes, but they're really grateful right now. This might actually be a good Thanksgiving, a turning point for us. Vivien looked at her husband, at the hope in his eyes, at the way he genuinely believed his family's temporary happiness would somehow translate into them treating her better. 2 years had taught her otherwise, but she said nothing, just nodded and smiled and let him believe what he needed to believe. That night, alone in her second bedroom office, Vivien made 3 calls. The first was to James. I want the withdrawal documents prepared, she said. Complete termination. Every clause that allows immediate exit, I want it ready to execute. James was quiet for a moment. You're sure about this? I'm sure about being ready. Whether I use them depends on Thursday. What happens Thursday? I find out if gratitude changes people or just makes them better actors. The second call was to Diana. The Employee Severance Fund. I want it active and ready to disperse by Monday morning. 1 year salary, full benefits, job placement assistance. All 400 employees. That's $47 million, Diana said. I know what it costs. I want those people protected before the bankruptcy filing. They're innocent in this. And the Ashfords aren't? The Ashfords are about to get exactly what they deserve. The employees shouldn't suffer for that. The third call was to Jonathan. I need you, James, and Diana ready to move Thursday evening. Clear your schedules. When I send the message, I need you there within 40 minutes. We'll be ready, Jonathan said. Boss, are you okay? Ask me Friday, Vivien replied. Wednesday morning, Catherine called while Vivien was teaching. She let it go to voicemail, then listened while Maya painted beside her. Vivien, darling, I wanted to touch base about tomorrow. We're doing formal dress. Nothing too fancy, but definitely not casual. I know you probably don't have anything appropriate, so I've asked Gabriella to lend you something. She's about your size, maybe a bit thinner, but we can make it work. Also, dinner is at 4, but please arrive at 3:30. Family arrives early. Well, real family. But you should come then, too. See you tomorrow. Maya looked up from her canvas. Miss Harper, why did that lady sound so mean? What do you mean? Vivien asked. The way she said, real family. Like you're not real. That's mean. Out of the mouths of 16-year-olds. Sometimes people are mean without realizing it, Maya. I think she realized it, Maya said quietly. I think she meant to be mean. Vivien didn't respond, just helped Maya adjust the shadow in her painting. But the girl was right. Catherine meant every subtle cruelty. They all did. Wednesday evening, Derek came home excited. Dad's beside himself. The stock price is already recovering. That investor saved everything. He wants to frame the first payment receipt, $1,000, like a trophy. Mom thinks it's hilarious. Why hilarious, Vivien asked, though she knew. Because who saves a company for $1,000 a month? It's like, I don't know, charity or stupidity. Dad can't figure out which. Derek laughed. Either way, we got lucky. Some trust fund baby with more money than sense. Vivien stirred the pasta she was making. Maybe they had a reason. What reason could anyone possibly have for giving away $100 million for basically nothing? Maybe they wanted to see if you'd honor even a small obligation. Maybe it was a test of character. Derek snorted. That's a really expensive personality test. No, they're just stupid. Dad's convinced of it. The whole board thinks it's hysterical. The whole board is mocking this investor? Every single meeting. It's become this running joke. Someone suggests something dumb, and someone else goes, is that as dumb as the $1,000 investor? Everyone cracks up. Vivien's hand tightened on the wooden spoon. They're mocking someone who saved their company. Oh, come on, Viv, it's just jokes. The investor will never know. And honestly, if you're dumb enough to make that deal, you kind of deserve to be laughed at. Do you think they deserve it? Who? The investor. Do you think they deserve to be mocked? Derek shrugged. I think they made a stupid business decision, and stupid decisions have consequences. In this case, the consequence is Dad's board laughing at them. Could be worse. Vivien served the pasta in silence. Could be worse. She was about to show them exactly how much worse it could be. Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and bright. Vivien stood in their apartment bedroom looking at the dress Catherine had insisted Gabriella lend her. It was beautiful, expensive, and deliberately one size too small. Gabriella knew Vivien's size. This was intentional. Another small cruelty designed to make her uncomfortable. Vivien hung the dress back in the closet and pulled out something she'd brought from her real home the night before. A simple dress, elegant and understated, custom made to fit her perfectly. It looked affordable, but felt like armor. Derek came up behind her, adjusting his tie. You're not wearing Gabriella's dress? It didn't fit. Mom's gonna be annoyed. I'm sure she will be. Derek's eyes narrowed slightly. You're being weird again. What's going on? Nothing's going on. I'm just tired of pretending I'm grateful for dresses that don't fit and dinner invitations that feel like summons. That's not fair. My family is trying. Are they? Vivien turned to face him. When was the last time your mother said something kind to me? When was the last time your father treated me like I had value? When was the last time you defended me when they were cruel? Derek's jaw tightened. They're not cruel. They're just particular. And I don't defend you because there's nothing to defend. You're too sensitive about everything. I'm too sensitive. Vivien's laugh was hollow. Derek, your sister called me dead weight last week. Your brother said I was an anchor around your neck. Your mother told someone at her book club that you'd married down. And you think I'm too sensitive? How do you know what my mother said at her book club? Because she said it loudly enough that her friend called to apologize to me. But you didn't know that because you never ask how I'm doing. You never check if I'm okay. You just assume I'm fine because it's easier than dealing with the fact that your family is cruel. Derek grabbed his coat. We're going to be late. Can we not do this right now? When can we do it, Derek? Because we never do. We never talk about how your family treats me. We never address the fact that you've spent 2 years choosing them over me. We just pretend everything is fine. Everything is fine, Derek insisted. You're making problems where there aren't any. Vivien picked up her phone, the message already typed, waiting to be sent. You're right. Everything's fine. Let's go to Thanksgiving dinner. They drove in silence. Derek kept glancing at her, clearly unsettled by whatever shift he sensed, but couldn't name. Vivien watched the city pass by, counting down the hours until the truth emerged. At 3:30 exactly, they pulled into the mansion's circular driveway. Catherine opened the door before they could knock, her eyes immediately assessing Vivien's dress. "Oh," Catherine said, disappointment clear. "You didn't wear Gabriella's dress." "It didn't fit," Vivien repeated. "Well, that's a shame. This is nice, though. Very department store chic." Catherine's smile was poisonous. Come in, come in. Derek, darling, your father wants to see you in his study. Something about the expansion project." Derek squeezed Vivien's hand briefly. "I'll be right back." Then he disappeared, leaving her alone with Catherine. "Wine?" Catherine offered, already pouring without waiting for an answer. "We're celebrating today, really celebrating." "Did Derek tell you? The company is completely stable now. That ridiculous investor actually saved us." "He mentioned it," Vivien said. "Can you imagine? $100 million for 1,000 a month. Richard looked into it. Whoever it is, they're probably mentally incompetent. No rational person makes that deal." "Maybe they're rational and just have different priorities than money." Catherine laughed. "Different priorities than money? Darling, there are no priorities higher than money. Anyone who says otherwise is lying or poor. Usually both." Gabriella appeared with Trevor. "There she is. Did the dress fit?" "No," Vivien said simply. "Oh, that's too bad. I must have grabbed the wrong size." Gabriella's smile was razor sharp. "Though I suppose we all hold weight differently, some of us in better places than others." Trevor snorted into his drink. "Subtle, Gabs." "I'm just making conversation," Gabriella said innocently. "So, Vivien, how's the teaching? Still finger painting with the poor kids?" "They're learning watercolor, actually. We just finished a series on capturing light." "How enriching," Gabriella said, in a tone that made clear she found it anything but. "It must be so fulfilling, working with people who will never amount to anything. Very charitable of you." "They're children," Vivien said quietly. "They have potential." "Potential doesn't pay bills, sweetie. But I suppose when you're married to money, you can afford to dabble in charity work." Gabriella exchanged glances with Trevor. "Speaking of money, did Derek finally get around to increasing your allowance? I told him that $50 a week was a bit stingy." Vivien felt the blood drain from her face. "He gives you updates on our finances?" "Oh, honey, we're family. We share everything. How else would we know he's paying your rent, your car insurance, basically all your bills? Mom was concerned you might be taking advantage, but Derek assured us you're appropriately grateful." "Appropriately grateful," Vivien repeated. "Well, yes. When someone rescues you from poverty, the least you can do is show gratitude." Gabriella sipped her wine. "Though, between us, I'm not sure how long Derek will want to keep supporting dead weight. Men get tired of that eventually." Eleanor appeared in the doorway, surveying the scene with those sharp eyes. "Girls, are you being cruel to Vivien again?" "We're just chatting, Grandma," Gabriella said sweetly. "No, you're circling like sharks." Eleanor walked slowly to Vivien. "How are you, dear?" "I'm well, thank you," Vivien said. Eleanor studied her face. "Are you? You look different today. Taller somehow. Have you grown taller?" "No," Vivien said. "Same height I've always been." "Strange. You seem larger, more present." Eleanor tilted her head. "What's changed?" "Nothing's changed," Vivien said. But something in her voice made Eleanor's eyes narrow. Richard's voice boomed from the dining room. "Everyone, dinner's ready. Let's celebrate." They filed into the dining room. The table was spectacular, laden with food and flowers and crystal that caught the light. Catherine had outdone herself. This wasn't just Thanksgiving dinner. This was a victory celebration. Vivien took her usual seat at the far end of the table. The placement itself was always a message. Richard at the head, Catherine at his right, Derek beside his mother, then Gabriella, Trevor, Eleanor. Vivien at the very end, as far from the seat of power as possible, while still technically being at the table. Richard stood, raising his glass. I want to propose a toast before we eat. This week, our company faced extinction. 70 years of Ashford legacy almost ended, but we were saved by a miracle. An anonymous investor who, for reasons we still can't fathom, gave us everything we needed to survive. "Two mysterious idiots," Trevor called out. Everyone laughed. Everyone except Eleanor, who was still watching Vivien with those sharp, calculating eyes. "To mysterious idiots indeed," Richard continued. "May they continue to have more money than sense, and may they never realize how badly they've been taken advantage of." They drank, they laughed. They celebrated their salvation by mocking their savior. Vivien's hand found her phone beneath the table. She looked at the message she'd prepared days ago. 3 words that would change everything. Her finger hovered over send. Not yet. Let them enjoy this moment. Let them feel safe in their cruelty. Let them think they'd won. "Vivien, you're quiet," Catherine said from across the table. "Everything all right?" "Everything's fine," Vivien said. "Just listening." "To what?" "To who you all really are." The table went silent for a moment. Catherine's smile faltered. Derek looked confused. Eleanor leaned forward slightly. "What's that supposed to mean?" Gabriella asked. "Nothing," Vivien said. "Just making an observation." Derek reached over and touched her arm. "You okay?" "I'm perfect," Vivien said, and she meant it. For the first time in 2 years, she felt perfect, clear, certain, ready. Richard began carving the turkey, and conversation resumed. The Ashfords talked about expansion plans, investment strategies, market opportunities. They talked about their salvation like they'd earned it, like they deserved it, like the mysterious investor was a fool, and they were brilliant. "Dad said they're making the $1,000 payments on time," Derek mentioned. "Every month, like clockwork. It's almost sad." "Why sad?" Eleanor asked. "Because they could have asked for anything. Equity, board seats, profit sharing. They could have owned part of our company. Instead, they asked for $1,000 a month. It's pathetic." "Or generous," Eleanor said quietly. "Generosity is just stupidity with better PR," Richard countered. They all laughed again. Vivien watched them, memorizing this moment. The last time the Ashford family would sit together in this house, wealthy and secure and completely unaware that their world was about to end. Catherine passed the cranberry sauce, her hand brushing against Derek's with practiced maternal affection. "I was thinking, Derek, now that the company is stable, you should finally take that trip to Singapore. The expansion deal won't negotiate itself." "I was actually planning to take Vivien somewhere for our anniversary," Derek said. "It's coming up in a few weeks." Catherine's face froze mid-smile. "Oh, sweetie, business comes first. You can take Vivien somewhere local. Maybe a weekend in the mountains. Nothing expensive." "Nothing expensive," Vivien repeated softly. "Of course." Gabriella leaned forward. "Speaking of anniversaries, Derek, you never told us what you got Vivien last year. I'm dying to know." Derek looked uncomfortable. "I don't remember exactly." "Nothing," Vivien said. "He forgot." The table went silent for a beat. Then Catherine laughed, that bright tinkling sound. "Oh, men and their terrible memories. I'm sure he made it up to you somehow." "He didn't," Vivien said. "But it's fine. I've learned not to expect much." Derek's face flushed. "That's not fair. I was busy with the company crisis. You know how stressed I was." "You've been stressed for 2 years," Vivien said calmly. "It's become your permanent excuse for forgetting I exist." "Vivien," Derek hissed, "not now." "When then? When is it okay to acknowledge that you forgot our anniversary, forgot my birthday, forgot every promise you made when you proposed on that apartment floor?" Trevor whistled low. "Awkward." "It is awkward," Vivien agreed. "It's been awkward for 2 years. I've just stopped mentioning it. Richard set down his knife with deliberate precision. Young lady, I don't think this is the appropriate time for marital squabbles. Isn't it? Vivien looked directly at him. You're celebrating being saved by someone you think is stupid, someone you mock at every board meeting. Seems like the perfect time to discuss what's appropriate and what isn't. What are you talking about? Richard's voice carried an edge now. Eleanor's hand trembled slightly as she set down her teacup. She knows. Knows what? Catherine asked. She knows we laugh about the investor, Eleanor said quietly. Don't you, dear? Yes, Vivien said. I know. Derek told me. He thought it was funny. The whole board mocking someone for making a bad business deal, calling them pathetic, stupid, mentally incompetent. Derek shifted in his seat. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? I just meant the deal was unusual, that's all. Unusual, Vivien said. That's a generous revision of stupid as hell, which is what you actually said. Gabriella snorted. She's got you there, little brother. This is ridiculous, Derek said. Why are you making a scene? I'm not making a scene. I'm just finally being honest. 2 years of silence and I'm finally saying what I think. Isn't honesty what you wanted? You said you wanted truth. No more pretending. I wanted honesty about us, Derek said, not about my family's private business discussions. But they're the same thing, don't you see? Vivien's voice remained calm, eerily calm. Your family's cruelty toward people they think are beneath them is the same cruelty they show me. The same contempt they have for the investor is the contempt they have for me. The only difference is I'm sitting at their table. That's not true, Catherine protested weakly. Isn't it? You called me dead weight. Gabriella said I was an anchor. Trevor said Derek married down. Richard told me I was a distraction with no substance. You've spent 2 years making sure I knew I wasn't good enough. And now you're doing the same thing to someone who saved you. The table was completely silent now. Even Trevor had stopped drinking. The difference is, Vivien continued, the investor you're mocking isn't here to defend themselves. They can't hear you laughing at them. They don't know you frame their payment receipts as jokes. They don't know you compare stupid suggestions to their generosity. So I'm speaking for them. You don't even know who they are, Richard said. Don't I? Vivien met his eyes. Are you sure about that? Richard's face changed. Subtle, but Eleanor saw it too. So did Catherine. What are you implying? Catherine's voice had gone thin. I'm not implying anything. I'm just asking if you're sure about your assumptions. You've been sure about a lot of things that turned out to be wrong. Derek grabbed her arm. Vivien, stop. You're embarrassing yourself. Am I? Or am I embarrassing you? She pulled her arm away gently, but firmly. There's a difference, Derek. I'm not the one who should be embarrassed here. Gabriella's eyes narrowed. You know something. What do you know? I know you're cruel, Vivien said simply. I know you judge people by their bank accounts and their last names instead of their character. I know you spent 2 years trying to break me, and you're celebrating tonight because you think you won. We did win, Trevor said. The company is saved. Is it? Vivien asked. Are you sure? The question hung in the air like smoke. Richard's hand tightened on his wine glass. Catherine's smile had completely disappeared. Eleanor was watching Vivien with an expression that looked almost like understanding. What are you saying? Derek's voice had gone quiet, dangerous quiet. I'm saying you shouldn't celebrate before you're certain of victory. I'm saying gratitude should be sincere, not performed. I'm saying maybe the investor you're mocking isn't as stupid as you think. How would you know? Gabriella demanded. Because I'm not stupid either, and you've been treating me the same way for 2 years. But I'm still here, still sitting at this table, still watching you reveal exactly who you are. Richard stood abruptly. I think you should leave. I'll leave when I'm ready, Vivien said, and something in her tone made Richard sit back down. Derek turned to her. What is happening right now? Why are you acting like this? Like what? Like you're someone else, like you have power here. Don't I have power? Vivien asked. I'm your wife. That should count for something. It does count for something, Derek said desperately, but you need to respect my family. I've spent 2 years respecting your family while they disrespected me. I think I'm done with that arrangement." Catherine's hands were shaking now. "Derek, control your wife." "Control me," Vivien laughed. "That's interesting phrasing. Tell me, Catherine, how exactly should Derek control me?" "I just meant he should explain that this behavior is unacceptable." "This behavior," Vivien repeated. "Speaking honestly, standing up for myself, pointing out cruelty, that's unacceptable behavior?" "You're being hysterical," Gabriella said. "I'm being honest. There's a difference. You just don't like what honesty sounds like." Trevor poured himself another drink. "This is the most entertaining Thanksgiving we've had in years." "It's about to get more entertaining," Vivien said quietly. Eleanor's teacup rattled against the saucer. "Oh dear." "What?" Catherine snapped. "What does that mean?" "It means," Eleanor said slowly, "that Vivien has been planning something. Haven't you, dear?" "Planning what?" Derek asked. "Vivien, what is she talking about?" Vivien checked her watch. 28 minutes had passed since they sat down for dinner. 12 more minutes. She could give them 12 more minutes of feeling safe before everything ended. "I'm not planning anything," Vivien said. "I'm just waiting." "Waiting for what?" Richard demanded. "For the right moment." "The right moment for what?" Vivien smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. "You'll see." The family exchanged glances, confusion mixed with the first hints of fear. Something was happening that they didn't understand, and the Ashfords hated being out of control. "I think we should open presents," Catherine said suddenly, clearly trying to regain control of the evening. "I got everyone a little something to celebrate." "Presents," Vivien said. "How thoughtful." "Yes, well, we have much to be grateful for this year." Catherine disappeared into the other room and returned with wrapped boxes. She handed them out to everyone except Vivien. Derek noticed. "Mom, you didn't get Vivien anything?" "Oh, I'm sure she understands. These are family gifts. Special family gifts." "I'm family," Vivien said. "Are you, though?" Gabriella asked. "Really?" Derek started to protest, but Catherine cut him off. "Open them. I'm so excited for you all to see." They tore into the wrapping paper. Inside each box was an expensive watch. Rolex for Richard, Cartier for Derek. Designer pieces for everyone. Everyone except Vivien. "They're beautiful," Derek said, fastening his on immediately. "Thanks, Mom." "You're welcome, darling. It's to commemorate our survival. Our family's survival." Vivien watched Derek admire his watch, completely oblivious to the insult his mother had just delivered. Or maybe not oblivious, maybe just unwilling to acknowledge it. "That's a $10,000 watch," Vivien said quietly. "Is it?" Derek looked pleased. "Mom, you shouldn't have." "You deserve it. You've worked so hard." Catherine's eyes flickered to Vivien. "Some of us work harder than others. Some of us aren't given the opportunity to work," Vivien said. "Some of us are told our work doesn't matter because it doesn't make enough money." "Well, if the shoe fits," Gabriella murmured. Vivien checked her watch again. 35 minutes. 5 more minutes. She could endure 5 more minutes of this. "Tell me something," Vivien said, looking around the table. "If you found out tomorrow that someone you'd treated terribly was actually someone powerful, someone who could destroy everything you have, what would you do?" The table went still. "What kind of question is that?" Richard asked. "A hypothetical one. What would you do? Would you apologize? Would you try to make amends? Or would you just be angry that they'd tricked you?" "That's a bizarre hypothetical," Catherine said. "Is it? It happens all the time. People judge someone based on appearances, treat them badly, then discover they made a terrible mistake." "If someone was powerful and pretending not to be," Richard said slowly, "I'd say they were dishonest, playing games. I'd have no respect for them. Even if they did it to see who you really were, to test your character?" "Testing people's character is manipulative," Gabriella said. "Is it more manipulative than being cruel to someone because you think they can't fight back?" Vivien asked. Eleanor set down her teacup very carefully. "She's about to do something. I can feel it." "Do what?" Derek's voice had an edge of panic now. "Vivien, what is Grandma talking about?" Vivien pulled her phone out from beneath the table, held it up so they could all see she had it. "What are you doing?" Catherine asked. Sending a message, Vivien said. To who? To people I trust, people who work for me. She paused, watching their confusion. People who call me boss. Richard laughter. Actual laughter. Boss? You teach art to children. Who calls you boss? The people who run my companies, Vivien said simply. The laughter died. Derek's face went pale. Your companies? My companies, my investments, my empire. Vivien's finger hovered over send. The empire I've been running while you all treated me like I was worthless. You're delusional, Gabriella said, but her voice shook. Am I? Then this message won't matter, will it? Vivien looked at Derek. I want you to know I gave you every chance. I spent 2 years hoping you'd stand up for me, hoping you'd see me as more than what your family told you I was. But you never did. You chose them over me every single time. Vivien, what are you talking about? Derek's voice cracked. I'm talking about the truth I've hidden for 3 years, the truth you never bothered to look for because you were satisfied with the story your family told you. She pressed send. 3 words. Come here, now. What did you just do? Catherine demanded. I called my team, Vivien said calmly. They'll be here in about 40 minutes. Your team, Richard repeated. Your imaginary team for your imaginary companies. Not imaginary, Vivien said. Very real. Just like the $100 million that saved your company is very real. The table went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Trevor's glass stopped halfway to his mouth. What? The anonymous investor you've been mocking, Vivien said. The one you call stupid and pathetic and mentally incompetent. That was me. That's impossible, Richard whispered. Is it? You never actually investigated who V. Hartwell Investments was, did you? You just assumed it was some trust fund baby. You were so desperate for the money, you didn't ask questions. Catherine's hand flew to her throat. V. Hartwell, Vivien Hartwell. My actual name, Vivien confirmed. Vivien Harper Hartwell. I've been using my middle name. The name you never asked about. The background you never investigated thoroughly because you were so certain I was nobody. Derek shook his head. No, this is a joke. You're lying. Am I? Then why am I not worried about these divorce papers? Vivien pulled the documents from her purse, the ones Derek had thrust at her before dinner. Why am I not panicking about signing a prenup that protects your family's assets from me? Because you have nothing to lose, Gabriella said. But she sounded uncertain now. Because I have everything to protect, Vivien corrected. The prenup doesn't protect your $50 million from me. It protects my $3.7 billion from you. The number landed like a bomb. Richard's face drained of all color. Catherine's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Trevor dropped his glass, wine spreading across the tablecloth. Billion, Derek whispered. That's not possible. It's very possible. I'm the CEO of Hartwell Global Industries. Real estate, pharmaceuticals, tech investments, venture capital. I've been running it all from our second bedroom while you slept. While your family mocked me and told me I was worthless, I was making more money in a month than your company makes in a year. Eleanor closed her eyes. Oh, dear God. I saved your company, Vivien continued. I wired $100 million into your failing business because 400 innocent employees didn't deserve to lose their jobs because Richard is an incompetent manager. Richard made a strangled sound. And I asked for $1,000 a month, not because I needed the money, but because I wanted to see if you'd honor even a small obligation to someone you thought was desperate. I wanted to see if you had any decency at all. We made every payment, Richard said desperately, while laughing about me at every board meeting, while calling me stupid and pathetic, while celebrating how you'd taken advantage of an idiot. Vivien's voice was steady, cold. You failed the test spectacularly. Gabriella stood up so fast her chair fell backward. You can't be serious. This is insane. The doorbell will ring in about 35 minutes, Vivien said. 3 people will arrive. James Crawford, my attorney, Diana Foster, my CFO, Jonathan Pierce, my VP of operations. They'll call me boss. They'll bow, and they'll have withdrawal documents ready for me to sign." "Withdrawal," Catherine whispered. "Complete withdrawal of the $100 million investment. Immediate termination of all contracts. Your company will be bankrupt by Wednesday morning." "You can't do that," Richard roared. "We have a contract." "A contract that allows complete withdrawal within 90 days under specific conditions. It's been 5 days, and you violated the conditions." "What conditions?" "Good faith, respect for the investor. You've shown neither." Derek grabbed her arm hard enough to hurt. "Vivien, stop this. Stop lying. This isn't funny." "I'm not lying. And you're hurting me. Let go." He didn't let go. "You're just an art teacher. You live in a tiny apartment. You have nothing." "I own the apartment building. I own the gallery. I own half the real estate in this city. And you're still hurting me, Derek. Let go." Eleanor spoke up. "Derek, release her, now." Something in his grandmother's tone made Derek drop Vivien's arm. "She's lying," he said desperately. "Tell them you're lying, Viv. Tell them this is just some crazy story." "I'm not lying," Vivien said softly. "I'm finally telling the truth." The silence that followed Vivien's declaration felt like the moment before a building collapses. Everyone frozen. Everyone processing, everyone's mind racing to recalculate everything they thought they knew. Trevor broke it first. "Prove it." "Excuse me?" Vivien turned to him. "Prove you're who you say you are. Anyone can claim to be a billionaire. Show us proof." Vivien pulled out her phone again. "What would you like to see? My investment portfolio? My property holdings? The wire transfer receipt for your company's $100 million with my signature on it?" "Yes," Richard said hoarsely. "Show us the wire transfer." Vivien pulled up the document, turned the phone around. Richard grabbed it from her hands, his fingers shaking as he read. His face went from pale to gray to nearly green. "This is impossible," he whispered. "This is your signature, your account number, your company name." Catherine snatched the phone, read it. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Oh, God. Oh, my God." Gabriella looked over her mother's shoulder, the color drained from her face. No, this can't be real." "It's real," Vivien said. "The money you've been living on for the past 5 days, that's mine. The stability you're celebrating, that's me. The investor you've been mocking, still me." Derek finally grabbed the phone, stared at it for a long moment. "You let us believe you were poor. I let you believe what you wanted to believe. I never said I was poor. You just assumed. You lied about who you were. I used my middle name. That's not lying. It's privacy, something I valued after spending my entire adult life being judged by my bank account instead of my character." "This is fraud," Gabriella said desperately. "Identity fraud. We can sue you." "For what? Using my legal middle name, living modestly, teaching art because I wanted to, not because I needed the money? Good luck finding a lawyer who'll take that case." Vivien looked at her watch. 28 minutes until my team arrives. You have 28 minutes to decide how you want to handle this." "Handle what?" Catherine's voice was shrill now. "You're destroying us." "I'm withdrawing my investment from a company whose board mocks me at every meeting. That's not destruction. That's business." "It's revenge," Derek said. "Is it? Or is it consequences? You spent 2 years treating me like garbage. Your family spent 2 years making sure I knew I wasn't good enough. And all that time, I was the one keeping your company alive." Vivien's voice remained steady, calm. "I tested you. $1,000 a month from someone with $100 million to invest. Would you honor it? Would you respect it? Or would you laugh at them?" "We didn't know it was you," Catherine said desperately. "That's exactly the point." Vivien stood up. "But I was never powerless. I just wanted to see who you really were when you thought nobody important was watching." Eleanor spoke, her voice trembling. "What about the employees, the 400 people who work for the company?" "Already taken care of," Vivien said. "I set up an anonymous severance fund. 1 year's salary, full benefits, job placement assistance. $47 million. They'll be notified Monday morning." Richard's head snapped up. $47 million? You're protecting our employees? Your employees didn't do anything wrong. They don't deserve to suffer because their leadership is cruel and incompetent. So yes, I'm protecting them. But not us, Catherine whispered. You don't need protection. You need consequences. Derek stood abruptly. I don't believe this. Any of this. You're my wife. I know you. You're not some billionaire CEO. You're just Vivien. Just my Vivien. I was never yours, Derek. I was someone you thought you could mold into what your family wanted. Someone small enough that you'd always feel bigger. Someone grateful enough that you'd never have to actually value them. Well, that's not true, isn't it? When was the last time you asked about my day, my dreams, my thoughts on anything that mattered? When was the last time you defended me to your family? When was the last time you chose me over their approval? Derek's mouth opened, but no words came out. You can't remember, Vivien said softly, because it never happened. Not once in 2 years did you stand up for me. Not once did you tell them they were wrong. You just kept hoping I'd change into someone they could accept. Someone smaller, quieter, more grateful for the privilege of being an Ashford. Gabriella found her voice. You manipulated all of us. You made us think you were nobody. I didn't make you think anything. You decided I was nobody because I taught art and lived modestly. You decided my worth based on what you thought I had, not who I was. That's not manipulation. That's your own prejudice. We have rights, Richard said, his voice strengthening. Legal rights. We'll fight this. Fight what? A legal withdrawal of a legal investment under contract terms you signed without reading carefully because you were so desperate? Go ahead. Call your lawyers. They'll tell you the same thing my lawyers already confirmed. I can withdraw every penny, and there's nothing you can do about it. Trevor had gone very quiet. The prenup. Everyone turned to look at him. The prenup we made her sign, Trevor continued slowly, to protect our assets from her. It actually protected her assets from us. That's correct, Vivien confirmed. The document was designed to ensure what each party brought to the marriage stayed theirs. You brought $50 million worth of company stock and assets. I brought $3.7 billion. Thanks to the prenup, Derek leaves this marriage with exactly what he came in with. Which is what? Derek asked weakly. According to the financial disclosure you filed before our wedding, $17,000 in student loan debt and a 23-year-old Honda Civic. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. All the years of the Ashfords acting superior, all their comments about Vivien being the one who married up, all their certainty that they were the prize and she was lucky to have them, all of it shattered against the reality that she could buy their entire world 100 times over. Catherine started crying. Not delicate tears, but ugly, desperate sobs. We're going to lose everything. You're going to lose what you stole from your employees through mismanagement, Vivien corrected. You're going to lose the company you were running into the ground. You're going to lose the illusion that cruelty doesn't have costs. Please, Catherine begged. Please don't do this. We'll apologize. We'll make it right. Just don't destroy us. Will you? Will you really make it right? Or will you just apologize because now you know I have money? Would you have apologized yesterday when you thought I was worthless? Catherine couldn't answer. That's what I thought. Vivien checked her watch. 22 minutes. Richard tried a different approach. Vivien, think about this rationally. Yes, we made mistakes, but destroying the company hurts more than just us. It damages the pharmaceutical industry. It disrupts supply chains. It has ripple effects you can't imagine. I can imagine them perfectly. I run pharmaceutical companies, remember? Bigger ones than yours. And I've already made arrangements to absorb your contracts, protect your supply chains, and ensure no patients are harmed by your bankruptcy. The industry will be fine. You just won't be part of it anymore. Gabriella's face twisted with rage. You smug bitch. You planned this whole thing. You married Derek just to destroy us. I married Derek because I loved him, Vivien said, and for the first time her voice cracked slightly. I loved him when I thought he was different from his family. I loved him when I hoped he'd defend me. I loved him even when he kept choosing all of you over me. I didn't plan to destroy you. I planned to test whether you had any decency at all. You failed that test so completely that destroying you became the only rational response. Derek sat down heavily. I did love you. I do love you. You loved who you thought I was, the poor art teacher who was lucky to have you. You never loved me, Derek. You loved feeling superior to someone. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Vivien's laugh was bitter. Is it fair that I spent 2 years being insulted at Sunday dinners? Is it fair that your mother gave everyone expensive gifts today except me? Is it fair that your sister called me dead weight and you said nothing? Is it fair that you handed me divorce papers at Thanksgiving dinner to humiliate me in front of your whole family? I was going to tell you privately, Derek said weakly. Mom said doing it at Thanksgiving would be cleaner, quicker. Your mother planned it, Vivien said. Of course she did. Catherine's tears stopped. I was trying to help my son, trying to free him from a mistake. The mistake was his, Eleanor said suddenly, her voice sharp. Derek's mistake was thinking he deserved someone like Vivien, any version of Vivien. With or without money, she was always too good for him. We just couldn't see it because we were too busy judging her bank account. Grandma, Derek said, shocked. Be quiet, Eleanor snapped. I'm 83 years old. I've spent my life building this family's legacy, and I'm watching it die tonight because we forgot the most basic lesson. Character matters more than wealth. Integrity matters more than status. And cruelty always, always comes back to destroy those who practice it. We weren't cruel, Gabriella protested. Yes, you were, Eleanor said. I was cruel too. I sat at this table week after week and watched all of you tear her apart, and I said nothing. I'm as guilty as any of you. Vivien looked at Eleanor, surprise flickering across her face. You're the first one to admit it, because I'm old enough to recognize truth when I hear it, and the truth is, we did this to ourselves. Every insult, every dismissal, every moment we made you feel small, we were building our own destruction. Eleanor turned to Richard. You're a terrible manager. The company was dying before Vivien saved it because you make decisions based on ego instead of data. Mother, Richard said, stunned. Catherine, you're a cruel woman who derives pleasure from making others feel inferior. Gabriella, you're vicious. Trevor, you're weak. And Derek, you're the worst of all because you had the chance to be different. You had someone who loved you genuinely, without agenda, and you threw her away for your family's approval. The family sat in shocked silence. Eleanor turned back to Vivien. Will you reconsider? Will you give us a chance to change? Change into what? Vivien asked gently. You are who you are. You just revealed it over and over again until I finally accepted it. I don't need you to change, Eleanor. I just need you to face the consequences of who you've always been. So there's nothing we can do? You can learn from this. You can become better people. You can treat the next person with kindness instead of contempt. But you can't undo 2 years of cruelty by apologizing in the last 20 minutes before your world ends. The doorbell rang. Everyone froze. Vivien looked at her watch. They're early, efficient as always. Catherine stood up so fast she knocked over her wine glass. Don't answer it, please. Give us more time. Time for what? More apologies you don't mean? More promises you won't keep? Vivien walked toward the foyer. I'll get it. No! Derek jumped up. Vivien, please. I'm begging you. Don't do this. I'll do anything. I'll change. I'll be better. Just give me a chance. Vivien stopped, turned, looked at her husband, really looked at him, maybe for the last time with any softness left. Derek, I gave you 2 years of chances, 730 days of opportunities to stand up for me, to choose me, to see me. You never took one of them. Why would today be different? Because now I know who you are. That's exactly the problem. You only care now because you know I have money. If I'd told you this morning that I was poor, but I wanted you to defend me to your family, would you have done it? Derek's silence was answer enough. That's what I thought. Vivien continued to the door. She opened it to find James, Diana, and Jonathan standing there, professional and ready. "Boss," James said with a slight bow, "we came as quickly as we could." "Thank you for coming." Vivien stepped aside to let them in. The three of them walked past Catherine, who stood frozen in the hallway. They walked past Derek, who looked like he was watching his life end in real time. They walked straight into the dining room where the entire Ashford family sat in ruins. "Ms. Hartwell," Diana said, tablet already out, "the withdrawal documents are prepared. We just need your signature." "All ready?" Vivien asked. "We had them ready the moment you sent the first message last week. We've been waiting for your order." "You knew she was planning this," Richard said hoarsely. "You all knew." "We've known for 2 years that this family treated our boss terribly," Jonathan said, his voice flat. "We've been waiting for her to decide she'd had enough." James opened his briefcase. "Ms. Hartwell, these documents will withdraw the full $100 million from Sterling Pharmaceuticals. The withdrawal will process Monday morning at 9 a.m. The company will have insufficient funds to meet their loan obligations by Monday afternoon. Bankruptcy filing will be mandatory by Tuesday." "And the employees?" Vivien asked. "The severance fund is active. All 400 employees will receive notification Monday morning. 1 year salary, full benefits, job placement assistance through our partner companies. Total cost, $47 million, already allocated from your philanthropic fund." "Good." Vivien took the papers.
Wait,
Richard stood. "I'm Richard Ashford. I'm the CEO of Sterling Pharmaceuticals. You can't do this without negotiating with me first." James looked at him like he was an insect. "We're not negotiating. We're executing a legal withdrawal under contract terms you signed. Ms. Hartwell is being generous by giving you 5 days' notice instead of withdrawing immediately." "5 days? We need more time. We need to find other investors. You need to face consequences," Diana interrupted. "You spent the last week mocking Ms. Hartwell at board meetings, calling her stupid, pathetic, mentally incompetent. Did you think that wouldn't have consequences?" Gabriella pointed at Diana. "You can't prove any of that." Diana held up her tablet. "We recorded every board meeting, every lunch conversation, every casual comment about the stupid investor. We have documentation of exactly how Sterling Pharmaceuticals treats people they think are beneath them." "That's illegal surveillance," Richard sputtered. "No, it's research. Ms. Hartwell has been considering acquiring Sterling Pharmaceuticals for months. Part of that due diligence included monitoring company culture and leadership quality. You failed spectacularly on both counts." Jonathan spoke up. "We also have documentation of 17 OSHA violations, 6 discrimination complaints that were buried, and evidence of accounting irregularities that border on fraud. If you'd like to fight this withdrawal in court, we'd be happy to present all of that evidence publicly." Richard sat down hard. "You wouldn't." "Try us," Jonathan said. Vivien signed the withdrawal documents. One signature, clean and precise, ending everything. She handed the papers back to James. "It's done," she said quietly. Derek made a sound like a wounded animal. "Vivien, please, I'm your husband." "Not for long." Vivien pulled the divorce papers from her purse. "You wanted me to sign these tonight, remember? You handed them to me before dinner, wanted to make it official in front of your family. I didn't know who you were, and that made it okay? To publicly humiliate me? To end our marriage as entertainment for your family?" Vivien's hand shook slightly as she pulled out a pen. "You know what the saddest part is? If you'd waited until tomorrow, if you'd taken me aside privately and told me you wanted a divorce, I might have walked away quietly. I might have let you keep the investment. I might have protected you." "Then protect me now," Derek begged. "Please." "I can't. You made sure of that when you chose to destroy me at Thanksgiving dinner. When you let your family mock the investor who saved you. When you proved that you only care about people when you think they have power over you." Vivien signed the divorce papers. Her signature was steady this time. No tears, no shaking, just finality. "There," she said, "you're free. Free from the dead weight. Free from the mistake. Free from the woman you never bothered to actually know." Catherine collapsed into a chair. "This is a nightmare. This can't be happening." It's not a nightmare, Eleanor said quietly. It's justice. Late justice, but justice nonetheless. Vivien turned to Eleanor. You're the only one who understands. I'm old enough to see patterns. I've watched powerful people underestimate others my whole life. It always ends the same way. Always. Eleanor's eyes were wet. I'm sorry, Vivien. For whatever that's worth, from someone who's destroyed everything her family built. You didn't destroy it, Vivien said gently. Your cruelty destroyed it. I'm just the consequence. She walked toward the door. James, Diana, and Jonathan fell in beside her. At the threshold, Vivien paused one final time. The Ashford family sat among the ruins of their Thanksgiving dinner, turkey getting cold, wine staining the tablecloth, crystal shattered on the floor. Divorce papers signed. Withdrawal documents executed. Everything ending in the space of one meal. I hope the $1,000 a month was worth it, Vivien said, echoing the words she'd thought so many times. It cost you everything. Derek stood. Vivien, wait. Just wait. Give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes to say everything I should have said for 2 years. Vivien looked at her watch. You have 3 minutes. Say what you need to say. Derek stepped toward her. I was wrong. About everything. I should have defended you. I should have stood up to my family. I should have asked who you really were instead of accepting who I thought you were. I should have loved you enough to see you. You should have, Vivien agreed, but you didn't. I can change. I swear to God, Vivien, I can be the man you deserved. Maybe you can, but I'm not interested in waiting around to find out. I spent 2 years waiting for you to become who you promised to be on that apartment floor. The man who said love was enough. The man who valued character over wealth. He never showed up, Derek. Or maybe he never existed at all. He did exist. He does exist. Only now that you know I have money. Only now that you realize what you're losing. That's not love, Derek. That's desperation. Tears ran down Derek's face. What do I have to do? Tell me what to do and I'll do it. There's nothing you can do. Some things can't be fixed. Some damage is permanent. You made your choice at this dinner table when you let your family destroy me. You made it every Sunday for 2 years when you stayed silent. You made it this afternoon when you handed me divorce papers to humiliate me. Those choices can't be unmade. So that's it? We're just done? We've been done for a long time, Derek. You just didn't notice because I kept pretending everything was fine. Vivien turned to leave again. This time, Derek grabbed her arm. Not hard, but firm. Desperate. Let go, she said quietly. I can't. If I let go, you're really gone. I'm already gone. Letting go just acknowledges reality. James stepped forward. Mr. Ashford, remove your hand from Mrs. Hartwell. Now. Derek looked at James, at his suit, at his professional demeanor, at the way he positioned himself between Derek and Vivien like a bodyguard. This was someone who worked for her, someone who protected her, someone who respected her. Derek let go. Thank you, Vivien said. She looked at Derek one last time. I loved you. That part was real. I really did love you. I just loved someone who turned out not to exist. I existed. I still exist. No, you don't. The man I loved would never have let his family treat me the way yours did. The man I loved would have defended me. The man I loved would have seen me. You're not him. You never were. She walked out. This time, Derek didn't try to stop her. The black sedan waited at the curb, engine running. Vivien got in. James, Diana, and Jonathan followed. The driver pulled away smoothly, professionally. Behind them, the Ashford mansion lit up against the night sky. Inside, a family was realizing that their world had ended over Thanksgiving dinner. That cruelty had costs they couldn't afford. That judging people by their bank accounts instead of their character had destroyed 70 years of legacy in one evening. Vivien watched the mansion disappear in the rearview mirror. She felt lighter, empty, but clean. Like she'd finally set down a weight she'd been carrying so long, she'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight. Are you all right, boss? Diana asked softly. I don't know yet, Vivien said. Ask me next week. The withdrawal will process Monday morning, James confirmed. Sterling Pharmaceuticals will be insolvent by Tuesday, bankruptcy filing by Wednesday. And the employees? Protected. Every single one. They'll have jobs lined up before Sterling officially closes. Good. Vivien leaned back against the leather seat. That's all that matters. What about you? Jonathan asked. What matters for you now? Vivien thought about it. About 2 years of pretending, about 3 years of hiding, about a lifetime of people judging her wealth instead of her character. Tomorrow, I go back to being myself, she said, fully, completely. No more hiding, no more pretending, no more making myself smaller so other people can feel bigger. The press will have questions, Diana warned. Let them ask. I'll tell the truth. I married someone I loved. His family was cruel. I tested whether they had any decency. They failed. I withdrew my investment. End of story. Some people will call you vindictive, James said. Let them. Some people will call the Ashfords cruel. Both things can be true. Vivien looked out at the city lights. I'm done caring what people think. I'm done hiding. I'm done pretending. From now on, everyone will know exactly who I am from the beginning. And if they can't handle it, they don't get to be in my life. The car drove through the city, carrying her away from the worst Thanksgiving of her life and toward something she couldn't quite name yet. Not quite happiness, not quite peace, but something close to freedom. Her phone buzzed. 53 missed calls from Derek, texts flooding in. Please call me. We need to talk. I'm sorry. I love you. Don't do this. I'll change everything. Please. Vivien turned her phone off. Some conversations were already over, even if one person didn't know it yet. Where to, Ms. Hartwell? The driver asked. Home, Vivien said. The real one. And as the sedan carried her toward her penthouse, toward her real life, toward the woman she'd always been beneath the pretense, Vivien made herself a promise. She would never again hide who she was to test whether someone could love her. She would never again make herself smaller to make someone else comfortable. She would never again stay silent while people treated her cruelly. The Ashford family had taught her something valuable. Not the lesson they'd intended, but a lesson nonetheless. Cruelty always costs more than the cruel realize. Arrogance always comes before a fall. Judging people by what you think they have instead of who they are always ends in destruction. And sometimes the greatest victory isn't destroying the people who hurt you. It's walking away with your dignity intact and letting them destroy themselves. By Monday morning, Sterling Pharmaceuticals would be finished. By Tuesday, the Ashford family would be bankrupt. By Wednesday, 70 years of legacy would be erased. But 400 employees would be safe, protected by someone they'd never meet, saved by the same woman the Ashfords had called worthless. That mattered more than revenge. That mattered more than vindication. That mattered more than watching the Ashfords lose everything. Vivien Harper Hartwell had spent 2 years being treated like nothing. She'd spent 2 years hiding her billions to find real love. She'd spent 2 years hoping Derek would finally see her. He never did. His family never did. They only saw her bank account once they discovered how big it was. But that was their failure, not hers. She was done being their lesson, done being their cautionary tale, done being the woman they should have valued but didn't. Tomorrow, she would wake up as herself, fully, completely, without apology, and anyone who wanted to be in her life would know exactly who she was from the beginning. No more hiding, no more pretending, no more tests, just Vivien. Finally, fully, freely, Vivien. And that, she realized, as the sedan pulled up to her building, as Marcus opened her door with a respectful bow, as she walked into her real home and saw her real life waiting for her. That was worth more than all the revenge in the world. The Ashfords would face consequences for their cruelty, but Vivien would face tomorrow as someone who'd finally learned the most important lesson of all. The people who can't see your value when you have nothing will never truly value you when you have everything. And walking away from people who don't value you isn't giving up. It's finally, completely, absolutely valuing yourself.